Welcome to today's podcast. We're diving into the world of data analytics and how candidates can shine in interviews. I'm joined by a candidate from company XYZ, and I'll be asking some commonly asked interview questions. Let's get started. My first question is, can you tell me about yourself and your background in data analytics?
Absolutely. I started my career in data analytics a few years ago, focusing on transforming raw data into insights that drive business decisions. Over time, I've gained strong skills in SQL, Python, and visualization tools like Power BI and Tableau. Recently, I've also been exploring how generative AI can be used to automate parts of reporting and data storytelling. At XYZ, I had the opportunity to work on projects that combined traditional data analysis with machine learning models, which gave me hands-on experience in predictive analytics. I really enjoy bridging the gap between data and strategy, helping teams understand not just what's happening, but why it's happening and what might happen next.
That's a great answer. My next question is, what tools and technologies are you most comfortable with?
I'm highly proficient with SQL for querying data, particularly across databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQL Server, and Snowflake. For data integration and processing, I've worked with ETL tools such as Informatica and SSDS, and I've also utilized Azure Data Lake and other Azure services for data storage and transformation. On the programming side, I use Python extensively for data manipulation and machine learning, leveraging libraries such as Pandas, NumPy, scikit-learn, TensorFlow, and PyTorch. For visualization, I combine traditional tools like Excel for quick analysis with Power BI and Tableau for creating interactive dashboards, while also using Python libraries like Matplotlib, Seaborn, and Plotly for advanced visual storytelling. Recently, I've also been experimenting with tools like ChatGPT for data exploration, summarization, and automating repetitive analytics tasks, and I see huge potential in combining generative AI with data workflows. On the machine learning side, I've built models with scikit-learn and have experimented with cloud-based platforms such as AWS SageMaker and Azure ML for larger-scale projects.
That's a great answer. My next question is, how do you approach cleaning and preparing messy datasets?
Data cleaning is one of the most critical steps in analysis. I start by checking for missing values, duplicates, and inconsistencies in formats. Then, I standardize data types, handle outliers carefully depending on context, and ensure normalization when required. For example, at XYZ, I once received a dataset with inconsistent date formats and multiple null values. I automated a pipeline in Python that not only fixed these issues, but also flagged anomalies for review. This process improved the overall reliability of our dashboards and saved hours of manual work.
That's a great answer. My next question is, how do you measure the success of your analysis?
Success is when my analysis drives impact. It's not just about building a fancy dashboard or a predictive model, but about whether the insights are actionable. For example, at XYZ, I delivered an analysis that identified inefficiencies in our customer funnel. After implementing changes based on my recommendations, we saw a 12% increase in conversions. I also measure success by feedback. If stakeholders keep coming back to me for insights, that tells me I'm providing real value.
That's a great answer. My next question is, can you explain a recent project where you used machine learning?
Of course. At XYZ, I worked on a churn prediction project. We had customer data with demographics, engagement metrics, and transaction history. I cleaned and pre-processed the data, engineered new features, and used logistic regression and random forests to predict churn probability. Once we deployed the model, the marketing team used the predictions to create targeted campaigns. Within 3 months, churn decreased by about 8%. What I really enjoyed was combining traditional data analysis with machine learning to provide deeper insights and measurable business results.
That's a great answer. My next question is, how do you stay updated with new trends in data analytics and AI?
I dedicate time each week to learning. I follow leading blogs, listen to podcasts, and participate in online communities. Lately, I've been particularly interested in generative AI applications in analytics, like using large language models to automate data exploration and dashboard creation. I also take online courses to stay current with advancements in machine learning and cloud analytics tools. Continuous learning is essential in this field, and I enjoy being curious and applying new skills at work.
That's a great answer. My next question is, how do you handle tight deadlines when working on a data project?
When faced with tight deadlines, I prioritize ruthlessly. I break down the project into core deliverables that provide the most value and tackle those first. At XYZ, I once had to deliver a customer segmentation analysis in just 3 days. I focused on building a simplified model and creating clear visualizations for the leadership team. Later, I iterated and refined the model after the deadline passed. This approach ensured the team had timely insights without sacrificing accuracy.
That's a great answer. My next question is, can you explain a time you worked with unstructured data?
Yes, at XYZ, I worked on analyzing customer reviews and social media data. The challenge was that the data was text-heavy and unstructured. I used Python's NLP libraries to pre-process the text, removing noise and extracting key themes. Then, I used sentiment analysis to categorize customer feedback. This helped the product team understand how users felt about new features, and the insights directly influenced the product roadmap.
That's a great answer. My next question is, how do you ensure your analysis is understood by non-technical stakeholders?
I believe storytelling is key. I always start with a business problem, explain findings in plain language, and use visuals to reinforce the message. At XYZ, I presented a dashboard that predicted sales by region. Instead of diving into algorithms, I told a story. Here's what's happening, here's why, and here's what we can do next. I also encourage questions and adapt my communication style based on the audience.
That's a great answer. My last general question is, where do you see the future of data analytics going with AI and machine learning?
I think we're moving towards more automation, where AI handles repetitive tasks like cleaning, reporting, and even generating first drafts of insights. Analysts will shift into more strategic roles, asking the right questions, validating AI outputs, and connecting insights to business value. Generative AI, in particular, is going to revolutionize how we interact with data. Instead of manually coding queries or building charts, we'll be able to talk to our data and get instant insights.
Now let's move to some behavioral questions. My first question is, tell me about a time when you had to quickly learn a new tool or technology.
Sure. At XYZ, my manager asked me to use Snowflake for a data migration project, and I had never worked with it before. I immediately took Snowflake's free training modules, practiced on sample datasets, and reached out to colleagues who had experience with it. Within 2 weeks, I was confident enough to design and run migration scripts. We successfully moved large datasets without major issues, and my manager appreciated how fast I adapted.
That's a great answer. My next question is, describe a time you had a conflict with a teammate and how you handled it.
At XYZ, I was working with a teammate on a predictive analytics project. We disagreed on whether to use a deep learning model or a simpler regression approach. Instead of letting it escalate, I suggested we run both models and compare results. After testing, we found that the regression model performed nearly as well, and it was easier to explain to stakeholders. By focusing on data instead of opinions, we resolved the conflict and delivered a strong solution.
That's a great answer. My next question is, tell me about a project where you had to influence leadership with your analysis.
At XYZ, I was analyzing customer acquisition costs across channels. My analysis showed that one channel was significantly underperforming despite a high budget allocation. Initially, leadership was skeptical. I created a clear visualization comparing ROI across channels and presented it in a concise story format. After seeing the evidence, leadership reallocated funds, which improved ROI by 15% the next quarter. It taught me that influencing decisions is about clarity and confidence in how you present insights.
That's a great answer. My next question is, give me an example of how you handled a project with incomplete or missing data.
At XYZ, I was tasked with analyzing user engagement data, but nearly 20% of the entries had missing fields. I first profiled the data to understand the gaps. For critical fields, I used statistical imputation, and for others, I reached out to the engineering team to improve the data collection process. Meanwhile, I clearly documented assumptions and limitations in my analysis. Despite the missing data, the insights we produced were valuable enough to guide product improvements.
That's a great answer. My next question is, tell me about a time when your analysis was challenged.
Once at XYZ, I presented an analysis on sales decline, and a manager questioned my findings, suggesting other factors might be at play. Instead of getting defensive, I calmly walked through my methodology, shared my data sources, and highlighted assumptions. I also suggested we run additional analysis, incorporating the manager's hypothesis. In the end, the results confirmed both our points, providing a more complete picture. This experience reinforced the importance of transparency and collaboration.
That's a great answer. My next question is, describe a situation where you had to work under pressure.
At XYZ, leadership suddenly requested a detailed revenue forecast before an upcoming board meeting. The deadline was just 48 hours away. I quickly outlined what data was available, prioritized key variables, and built a forecasting model using Python. I worked late hours, but I also communicated progress to stakeholders regularly. By the deadline, I delivered a solid forecast, and leadership appreciated the clarity. This taught me how to remain focused and structured even under pressure.
That's a great answer. My next question is, tell me about a time you used AI or machine learning in a creative way.
At XYZ, we had thousands of support tickets that were difficult to categorize manually. I built a natural language processing model to automatically classify them into themes. Then, I layered a generative AI tool to create summaries of recurring issues. This not only reduced manual effort, but also helped leadership quickly understand customer pain points. It was exciting to see how AI could save time while enhancing decision-making.
That's a great answer. My next question is, describe a time when you had to collaborate with a cross-functional team.
At XYZ, I worked with product managers, engineers, and marketing on a new feature launch. Each team had different priorities, and my role was to provide data insights that guided decisions. I created a shared dashboard that included engagement metrics and A/B test results. By keeping everyone aligned with the same data, we were able to make informed decisions quickly. The feature launch ended up being one of the most successful that quarter.
That's a great answer. My next question is, tell me about a time when you made a mistake in your analysis and how you handled it.
At XYZ, I once misapplied a formula when calculating customer lifetime value, which slightly inflated the numbers in an early draft. As soon as I caught it, I immediately informed my manager, corrected the analysis, and explained what went wrong. I also updated my quality checks to prevent similar errors in the future. While it was a stressful moment, it reinforced my belief in owning mistakes and turning them into learning opportunities.
That's a great answer. My last question is, tell me about a time you went above and beyond to deliver insights.
At XYZ, I was asked to deliver a basic monthly sales report. Instead of just compiling numbers, I built an interactive dashboard that allowed leadership to slice and dice the data by region, product, and time period. I also added a predictive component using machine learning to forecast future sales trends. The leadership team was so impressed that they adopted it as a standard tool for monthly reviews. Going the extra mile not only showcased my technical skills, but also my initiative.
That's a great answer. Thanks so much for joining this mock interview.